We've had a complicated history with PuroAir products.
So I'm clear, these guys got mad at you for saying that this and this seem to be the same thing, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Which makes a thorough independent test of their 400 model all the more important. It's worth stating I didn't receive a free device for this review. I paid $518.31 in shipping and custom costs as I used SnapClick to buy the PuroAir 400 and get it sent here to the UK. As of September 2025, the list price on Amazon.com is $249 and $299 on the PuroAir website. In this video, I'll compare the PuroAir 400 to more than 100 air purifiers we have tested here at HouseFresh, based on our first-hand data on air cleaning performance, sound generation, energy efficiency, real-life user experience, and long-term running costs. If you want to find out more about how we test air purifiers, check out this video. Right, housekeeping notes out of the way, let's dive in. If you don't want to watch my full review of the PuroAir 400, here are the 4 things I don't like and the 2 things I do. Firstly, what I don't like. It consumes a lot more energy than similar powered devices with better air cleaning performance. PuroAir recommends replacing the filters every 3 months, which will lead to high yearly running costs as their OEM filters are not cheap. When we first bought the device, the marketing materials on the website and Amazon listing stated the filter was HEPA 14, but this has now been removed. There are also highly similar models on the market that cost a lot less. Right, what I really like. Performance at speed 2 was impressive while just generating 45.5 decibels of noise. At this speed, the PuroAir 400 cleaned our test room in 36 minutes, and we estimated a PM1 KDAR of 164 CFM. I know design is subjective, but I'm always a fan of black air purifiers. Firstly because I like black, but also because most of the air purifiers look quite samey in white. Okay, let's jump into the full review. Unlike the cylindrical design of the smaller 240, the PuroAir 400 has a rectangular design, similar to what you get with larger devices like the Winx 5510, the Koei Air Mega 150, or the Levoit Vital 200S. But unlike these models, which pull the air from the front of the device, as this is where the filters are located, the PuroAir 400 pulls the air from the back. This means you have to be careful not to place the device too close to the wall, as it could block the airflow. In the manual, PuroAir recommends placing the device 8 inches or 20 centimeters away from the wall. When looking at the control panel, on the far left you find a filter reset button and a light that will alert you when it's time to replace the filters. Next to it you get a timer button with options for 1, 2, 4 and 8 hours. Then you have the power button in the center of the control panel, surrounded by an LED ring that changes color based on the air quality in the room. Moving on to the right, there is a button with 3 fan speeds and an auto mode. Lastly, there is a button to activate sleep mode and the child lock. The PuroAir 400 doesn't have an app, but it does have an onboard air quality sensor that allows the device to run on auto mode, which means it will adjust the fan speeds automatically as needed. The air quality sensor sits at the back of the device, so you need to make sure that it isn't blocked. When going through the user manual of the PuroAir 400, I found one photo they included with an all-white version of the device. This made me curious, so I went online to try and find this white version to see if it was available for sale, and I found something unexpected. With a few reverse Google image searches, I came across a different air purifier sold in different countries that looked a lot like the PuroAir 400. For example, you can buy the Nevo Mead air purifier BKJ33 in Australia, which is all white and has virtually an identical control panel and also pulls air from the back. After spending some time on the Nevo website, I found they even make a smaller air purifier that looks similar to the PuroAir 240, but in white. But let's not go down that rabbit hole today. I also found a filter replacement listing on Amazon for a device that used to be on sale in the US called the Colza BKJ33, which also supports a very similar design and control panel. Now, this was the second time I've seen the same model number, the BKJ33. With this model number, I could find that the BKJ33 is currently sold all over the world with many different logos. Here in the UK, I found this Cosway air purifier, which cost us £69.96 or around $86. So I decided to buy it and test it to compare its performance to the similar looking PuroAir 400 model. Following the BKJ33 thread, I ended up on the website of a factory in China called Touche by Len Electrical Appliance Company Ltd. I got in touch with Touche by Len Electrical Appliance Co. and bought a $95 white sample of the BKJ33. Throughout the rest of this video, I will examine whether the sound, energy efficiency, and air cleaner performance of these three different air purifiers are comparable. Another thing I want to clarify is that I don't have a problem with the same model being sold with different brands, as this is just how ODM manufacturing works, and I've talked about in my video about the Titronics AP003. And a big benefit from this type of arrangement is that you're likely to get many options for filter replacements, even in cases where the manufacturers have discontinued the product. However, in the case of PuroAir, their original marketing materials for the PuroAir 400 stated that they had challenged some of the top scientists to design their air purifier, including logos from Harvard University and MIT. These claims have now been removed from their website, but they were there when we and many other people bought this device. Our hands-on testing of 3 of these units revealed notable similarities in design, dimensions, and even internal components, like the motherboard markings. This raises questions about the PuroAir 400's design origins. So I reached out to PuroAir to ask if Touche by Len Electrical Appliance Company Ltd was involved in the manufacturing of the PuroAir 400. I did hear back from their lawyers, and I will share their full response at the end of this video. I also reached out to Touche by Len to ask if they designed or manufactured devices for any US brands, and they mentioned collaborations with various brands, including PuroAir. At this point, I thought it would be only prudent that I should open up the PuroAir 400 to see if there are any factory markings like we saw with the Titronics AP003. There were not markings on the chassis, but when I opened up the motherboard, I saw a sticker with the model name BKJ300A-A. Without confirmation from PuroAir, we can't say for certain that this device was designed by Touche by Len, but there is quite a bit of evidence suggesting this might be the case. Usually, when manufacturers design their own devices, we find their company logo even in the internal components. For example, if you open up the Molecular Air Mini Plus, you would see the company logo on their motherboard. When I purchased the PuroAir 400, it was advertised as having the world's first HEPA 14 filter. However, similar to what we saw with the mention of scientists from Harvard and MIT, this specific claim about HEPA 14 is no longer on the website marketing materials or Amazon listing. But for those like myself who bought the PuroAir 400 before the mentions of HEPA 14 were removed, we can see the legend lab tested and certified HEPA 14 stamped all over the filter. When digging a little deeper, I found that the company behind Levoit, VSync Corporation, complained to the Better Business Bureau about advertising claims made by PuroAir, owned by Yalla Ventures. It's worth noting that this complaint was filed by VSync, the parent company of a major competitor, Levoit. While corporate rivalries are part of the business, the BBB's role is to assess if advertising claims can be substantiated, regardless of who raised the flag. The outcome was a discontinuation of the HEPA 14 claim. I will drop a link to this in the description below. The PuroAir 400 comes with a bonded filter, which means the activated carbon filter is bonded to the particle filter. This can improve KDAR, but it also means you may need to replace the whole filter when the carbon runs out, which usually happens months before the particle filter needs replacing. Interestingly, the Cosway design uses a non-bonded filter with separate carbon and particle filters, and a removable pre-filter. The sample from Touche by Len has a bonded filter like the PuroAir 400, but strangely, it also includes a removable pre-filter. On top of this mechanical filtration from the sample from Touche by Len, it also comes with an ionizer function, which is not present in the PuroAir 400. All 3 devices have the exact same dimensions, so the filters are interchangeable and fit any of the devices. This allowed me to swap filters as a part of our air cleaning performance test. Which leads me to the next section of my review, the HouseFresh performance test. PuroAir sent the 400, or its full name PA-400, for a KDAR test, and the device was certified by AHAM in 2023. The report shows that running at top speed, the 400 has a dust KDAR of 262 CFM. So based on AHAM results alone, the PuroAir 400 should outperform popular air purifiers like the Levoit Vital 200S with its 254 CFM, the WinX 5510 with its 252 CFM, and the BlueAir Blue Pure 311i Max with its 250 CFM. However, AHAM only tests performance at top speed, and most air purifiers are just too loud when running 24/7 at top speed, which is why we conduct our own KDAR tests at different fan speeds. Our first step was to test the PuroAir 400 running at top speed. According to our Purple Air sensor, the 400 needed 30 minutes to reach PM10 in our 728 cubic feet test room, after we burnt an incense stick to simulate pollutants. When accounting for the natural ventilation in our test room, we estimate a PM1 KDAR of 198 CFM. This result is slower than what we had expected based on the AHAM report, as the PuroAir 400 took longer to clean the air in our test room than the Vital 200S, the WinX 5510 and the 311i Max from Blue Air. But how does it compare with the BKJ33 devices that we bought? We tested all devices without any ionizers to make sure the tests were fair. Our data shows that the PuroAir 400 was slower than the sample version of the BKJ33 we received from Touche by Lin, but it outperformed the Cosway device using its OEM non-bonded filter. I ran another test with the Cosway BKJ33 using the PuroAir bonded filter, and the Cosway was 3 minutes quicker than the 400 at cleaning PM1 pollutants from the air in our test room. At this point, the data shows that the PuroAir 400 offers not only similar design to the BKJ33 models, but also has a similar top speed air cleaning performance. Next, we're going to look at sound test data. As I always say, if an air purifier is too loud, you will turn it off eventually. That is why I use a decibel meter to measure how much sound the PuroAir 400 generates from 3 feet away at each fan speed. Our test shows that the sound levels in the PuroAir 400 range from 38.1 decibels in sleep mode to 52.4 decibels at top speed. But please have a listen for yourself. I also wondered how sound compared across the similar looking BKJ33 units I bought. The PuroAir 400 runs a little quieter than the two BKJ33 models, which might account for the lower air cleaning performance results we saw in our test, but sound levels are generally similar across all three models. And when comparing sound levels against other similar priced air purifiers, we found that the PuroAir 400 is one of the quietest models when running at top speed alongside the Allen Breathe Smart Flex and the Clean Air Kit's Luggable XL7. But let's see how this device performs when running at quieter fan speeds below the 45 decibel limit that Clean Air Stars recommends for loud classrooms or offices. The only fan speed that falls under 45 decibels is speed 1 at 38.3 decibels. At this fan speed, the 400 needed 51 minutes to reach PM10 in our test room. I retested at speed 2 where the PuroAir generates 45.5 decibels, which is close to the 45 decibel limit, and it managed to reach PM10 in our test in 36 minutes. I've made a table to show how these results compared to the performance of other similar price models running at sub 45 decibel fan speeds. At speed 1 and speed 2, PuroAir 400 offers solid air cleaning performance at quiet sound levels. The two exceptions are the PC fan-powered Luggable XL7, which is just no match for a traditional air purifier, and the Allen Flex, which offered better air cleaning performance at less than 45 decibels. As always, we used our energy meter to record how much energy the PuroAir 400 uses when running at each fan speed and whilst on standby. When compared to the energy consumption of the two BKJ33 devices, we can see that the 400 uses a little less energy, which may account for its slightly reduced air cleaning performance in our test. If you have to leave the PuroAir 400 running 24/7, it would cost $77.75 in electricity costs for a year. This is generally higher than what you'd pay when running most of the similar price devices we benchmarked it against. Just to put this into perspective, over 5 years, the PuroAir 400 will cost you $227 more in energy bills than the Blue Air Blue Pure 311i Max. However, energy costs are not the only costs that add up when running your air purifier. Eventually, you will need to replace the filters. PuroAir says you need to replace the filters for the 400 every 3 to 5 months. As always, we'll use the lowest estimate when calculating filter cost. The recommended OEM filters cost $55 for one filter. That means the total filter cost for 1 year for the PuroAir 400 is $220. If we add up electricity costs, you need to budget an additional $297.75 to run your PuroAir 400 24/7 at top speed for a year. And now we can compare how much money you will spend on year 1 of buying a PuroAir 400. As you can see from the table, you can expect to pay more to own a PuroAir 400 than you would with other similar priced and similar performing air purifiers on the market today from WinX, Coway, Levoit, Blue Air, Smart Air, Allen and Clean Air Kits. This higher maintenance cost is a result of the higher energy usage of the PuroAir 400 and the fact that the PuroAir recommends replacing the filters every 3 months, leading to a much higher yearly filter replacement costs. So should you get the PuroAir 400? It's probably not going to surprise anyone, but I would say no. While the air cleaning performance you get at top speed is decent for a device costing just under $250, there are devices on the market right now that will cost you less or about the same and will be able to provide more air changes per hour in the same room. The best feature of the PuroAir 400 is that it performs very well when running at fan speeds that generate around 45 decibels of noise. But if noise levels are your main concern, you would be better off looking for a PC fan powered devices like the Clean Air Kit Sluggable XL7 in the US, the NuKit Tempest Euro in Europe, the Northbox 6XL in Canada, or the AirFanta 3 Pro everywhere else. In my opinion, the big downside of the PuroAir 400 is the expensive long-term running costs. Over time, electricity and filter replacement costs add up and are often invisible to most consumers at the time of buying an air purifier because manufacturers don't spell them out for people to see. The PuroAir 400 consumes much more energy than other devices with the same clean air delivery rate. Combine this with the 4 filters you need every 12 months based on PuroAir's filter lifespan recommendations, and this device can end up costing you nearly $300 each year to run. As you saw in our long-term cost comparison table, these high costs place the PuroAir 400 as one of the most expensive mid-size air purifiers to run 24/7 in your home. And this is before we even consider the fact that there are very similar looking devices with similar sound levels, energy usage, and air cleaning performance that are available on the market for much less than the $249 that PuroAir is asking for its 400 model. As of the moment of shooting this review, the Cosway BKJ33 is available in the US on the Cosway.com website for $149 and available in the UK for £69.95 on Cosway.co.uk. And while Cosway BKJ33 is a little louder than the PuroAir 400, the difference is minor and you would save $100 on the purchase price. But it's not just about price. The Cosway model comes with a non-bonded filter, so you can replace the carbon when you need to without needing to throw away a perfectly good particle filter. And it comes with a removable pre-filter that is missing from the PuroAir 400. This will save you money in the long term because a lack of a removable pre-filter can mean that you need to replace your filter more often as larger particles are caught in the main filter. While we cannot confirm any direct relationship between the PuroAir 400 and the BKJ33 models, our testing reveals similarities in dimensions, design elements, energy usage, sound levels generated, and air cleaner performance. These observations are based on independent testing and publicly available data. So we did reach out to PuroAir to ask for clarification on these points. They didn't answer our questions about the filter grade or the unit's manufacturing origins, but they sent this email from their lawyers. Okay, let's break down this letter. It's different from their previous communications and it's carefully worded, so I want to address it directly. First, it references our disagreements in 2024 and the removal of a video. That situation was a complicated one and it underscored for us the absolute importance of ensuring every single claim is backed by unshakable, transparent and publicly presented data. That's precisely the standard we've applied to this review. Second, the letter accuses us of being fixated on their products. And third, it repeats the serious and misconceived accusation of very close affiliate ties with a competitor. Let me be crystal clear for the record. This is false. We're an independent organization. We use affiliate links for multiple air purifier products, which we recommend based on their performance in our test. You've seen the tables in this video comparing the products of multiple different brands. Our loyalty is to our data and to the consumer, not to any single company. So, after all of that, they still chose not to answer our simple questions about the filter and the manufacturer. This entire data-driven video is our response, and we stand by our findings that cheaper, nearly identical models performed comparably, and in some cases better for a fraction of the cost. If you made it to this point, thank you for sticking with me, as I know this review was longer than usual. Reviews like this require a lot more resources, so if you want to support more independent reviews like this in future, then you can buy us a coffee, get yourself a HouseFresh t-shirt, or join our Patreon for ad-free and exclusive content. As always, drop your comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Is that okay?